Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we've got a bit of an issue here. It's definitely bugged. Lathe in general seems to be bugged for moving around on the surface. I don't know why, but what I did find out, I was looking around a little bit after the last episode, and I found that there is in fact a cheat menu in KSP2. The hotkey is Alt F8, and it pops open this menu. Now, we don't care about adding science points. We don't care about showing the arrow GUI, although that might be an interesting thing later on. And we don't care about disabling localization. This is a very bare bones menu, but it does have this teleport thing here. Now, that is very interesting. You can be teleport, surface, or rendezvous, and we're interested in being on the surface. Unfortunately, we need to know the latitude and longitude of our destination in order to actually use this. Now, in KSP1, there was also a very similar system, but what you could do is you could enable an option where you could middle click on the terrain, and then it would just autofill the latitude and longitude at that terrain. Now, I don't know if this is our current latitude or longitude, or if this is just a default thing. I guess let's find out. Let's hit the teleport button and see what happens. I have a save right here, just in case. Well, it put us upside down, and at the bottom of an ocean, it seems. We're floating upwards. I don't know where we are. Okay, that is definitely not where we want to be. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to do some experimentation to dial this in. So, our latitude would change us this direction, and our longitude would change us this direction, right? So, I think we might want to go, like, over here. That's about right on the longitude. We can dial that in. And then our latitude, do we want to go up or down? I believe we want to go... 0 should be equatorial, I think. Let's see what happens if we put it at 33. Okay, that's the wrong direction. So we want to take this down, like, over here. That's too far. Okay. We're just dialing this in. That's a little better. We need to find approximately the correct latitude here. It's somewhere between that. So like minus 48? Too much. Minus 51. Way too much overcorrection. Okay. That is difficult. However, that put us at the bottom of the sea here. We can turn SAS on and put this to up. I don't think this is actually up. We should be controlling from here, I think. And we should put this like so. And angle this to be about like this. Now, we are heading up towards the surface of the sea. I don't know where we are, and we obviously don't want to be in the sea. So we're going to need to move this down a bit, and we're going to have to, I think, type these. So let's see what it's like at just 49. Okay, so that's fine. I think we need to go to like 49.5-ish. We're just going to have to dial this in. What about 50? 50 is a little too much. Okay, so we'll go to like 49.8. I wish I knew what the actual latitude and longitude of this was. 49.85, perhaps. That's very close. Okay, now, we'll try to dial in the longitude again. I think we need to go negative here, so let's try taking this to 89 to start with. That's pretty close. Are we underwater? We are indeed underwater. And it's trying to put us upside down. We can't change our altitude here, so that might be a problem. But for now, we're just trying to dial in what this latitude and longitude should be. So 89, we'll try 89.5. That's overshooting. Okay. This should put us on land, though, right? This is still underwater. Okay. This probably put us off into this lake over here, actually, now that I think about it. So 89.5 is too much. We'll try 89.2. This is actually incredibly close, and we're in water here. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do from here. We're going to flip this thing over. So this is actually our destination right here. This is still splashed in the shores here. That's fine. So we're going to flip this guy over like so. Okay, now I'm going to turn SAS off. Now, obviously, we can't actually go anywhere in the water here. We're going to need Valentina to push us to shore. We're not very far from the shore, though. We can just push it right up over here. And hope that this terrain patch is acceptable to move around on the shore. But if not, we can use the teleport system the way we just did and dial it in. Because we would just go to where we want this to be, right? That's the way that this would end up working. So I'm going to push this over to the shore. And this was not at the correct 4x time warp. Now it is. Okay, so I'm just going to push this over to the shore here, and then we're going to swim over and get our sample. So I will be back when we've got this pushed approximately to shore. Valentina, you okay there? Valentina's only sort of okay. But, you know, that makes sense, given what we've got going on here. But let's push this thing over, and I'll see you guys in just a minute. Okay, so here we are with this thing just about pushed to shore here. We're incredibly close, and this is pretty flat here. We're not actually making progress anymore. Hang on, let's get out of this, and yeah, the wheels are clipped in. Okay, well, that's not a good sign, but I'm just going to swim right on over here. We're probably just going to... Actually, we may not abandon the rover for now. We may just teleport back over with the rover and just pretend like we drove, like it wasn't horrifically bugged on Lathe. That would be a good thing to do. But for now, of course, Valentina's just going to swim over to the bones of the creature and grab a sample report. That's the idea. Hopefully this works just fine. Hopefully the sample report isn't also bugged. Okay, we're in contact with it. And we are at the Megalophysiacus Rex. Yes, research it. So we're running our surface survey status. Okay, we completed the mission. Perfect. Now we're going to head back over to the rover. And we can see the FlySafe 16 is 9 kilometers in that direction. I'm not convinced that we're going to be able to drive the rover back due to the bugs that we're running into, but if we have to, we will cheat menu back. That works absolutely fine. We'll just have to dial in the latitude and longitude just like we did to get here. So that's not a big deal. I would rather not have to use the cheat menu. I'd rather drive the rover. That would be a lot more fun. But alas, here we are. Okay, so we're going to climb up onto the rover here, which the rover is still somewhat partially submerged. We're going to climb up here, and we're going to board. And now the question is, can we unstick these wheels? The answer is, of course, no. Why would we be able to do that? I do want to have this guy... Okay, that is already in all mode. Let's turn our brakes on. We're not really able to move this at all. Okay. So yeah, this is just completely stuck here. This is a bug. This is not intended behavior. Now, you can make the argument that it makes sense that it would get stuck in the mud in this situation. I could maybe buy that argument, but this is not the way that KSP2 is supposed to work, obviously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop back into here, and we are going to grab the F8 menu, the Alt F8 menu again, and we're going to set this to be, let's see, we need to increase our latitude, and let's try like 49.5. Yeah, about there. Okay, that's about right on the latitude, and then we're going to need to further increase our longitude to make it back. So let's move this up to about 90. I think that might overshoot. Actually, no. Ooh, that looked painful for poor Valentina. Okay, so we're on the ground here, And, I mean, it places us upside down for some reason. I don't know why that is, but we need to go a little further than this. So we're going to bring this up to 49.75. Wait, no. What am I doing? Not latitude. We needed more longitude. 90.5. That's pretty close. Is that in the water? That is indeed in the water. So by this point, we would have ditched the rover, and we would just be swimming from here. So we're 961 meters away from the fly-safe 16. Yeah. So we would have... Yeah, we're back in this position here. Remember when we were pushing to this spot here? So we allegedly drove back with the rover, and we would have abandoned the rover maybe here or something like that, is the way that that would have worked. So that's fine. At this point, we're just going to rise up to the surface. And this is absolutely fine. We're going up at about 3 meters per second. As soon as we get to the surface, Valentina's just going to abandon the rover. Abandoning the rover here was always the plan, and Valentina should be where those surface samples are stored anyway. So Valentina, hop on out. Let's double check that. So let's check our research inventory. Where is that again? Yeah, here. Perfect. So yeah, Valentina's got all of that. Perfect. So we're now going to hop off of the rover. The plan was always to abandon the rover by this point, even if we were not in... Even if we weren't having bugs, right? The plan was to shove the rover to the shore, drive the rover out to the Megalopithecus, get our research report, hop back in the rover, drive back to this same shore, and then swim this roughly kilometer to where our landing site is. That was what the plan was. So that's absolutely fine. I'm going to accelerate this. We're going to 4x time warp. That was definitely a very awkward mission, and it may continue to be so. We'll see how our fuel holds out here. I do want to move around some fuel once we get there, I think. We'll see what that ends up looking like. But it'll take us a little bit to swim out over there, but nowhere near as long as it took us to push the rover. So that's wonderful. We're moving at about 4 times the speed, so 4 meters per second, but we're on 4x time acceleration. So in reality, this is moving at about 16 meters per second, and that's not bad. Wonderful. So we're going to hop on over here, about 500 more meters to swim. And that is quite a lander craft, no doubt about it. We're going to have to remember to repack those chutes as well. But getting back into Lay's orbit is the important thing here. The question is one of thrust to weight. And how long of burn time we have in our existing engines. We'll see how that ends up going. It appears to be getting dark, and it looks like the sun's up over here. Sure. It appears to be getting a little darker. I think that may just be due to cloud cover, but we definitely want to get out of here before nighttime. So that's fine. Days are very long on Lathe. So that's expected. But yeah, we were always going to abandon the rover here. So this is completely fine. All we ended up doing was using the cheat menu to bypass the fact that the rover was getting stuck in the terrain for buggy reasons. So I'm not too concerned about that. That is, I think, a reasonable solution. So at this point, we're basically back at the lander. And let's come on out of the time acceleration. And we're going to need to get over to the ladder, because we need to climb up this thing. Excellent. And up we go. Of course, it's a little tedious how fast we climb this ladder, or how fast we don't climb this ladder, I should say. It's a very long ladder. But I mean, at this point, Valentina's getting kind of tired. She just pushed the rover like 1.2 kilometers in the water over to here, and then drove the rover over there, grabbed the sample, drove the rover back, and then swam another, 1.2 kilometers. So that's definitely a lot for poor Valentina. She's had a rough day. Okay, so we're going to hop back up over here, and we're going to Just slowly wander on over here. We'll grab onto this ladder and swap over. There we go. As long as I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go through and repack all of these chutes, assuming that they're all in range. If we need an emergency landing for whatever reason, we might still want them, so that'll be fine. Are you repacked? Yes. Are you repacked? Apparently. You're definitely not. So we'll get you repacked, you repacked. You'll be good, and you're fine, and repack. Okay, and now we'll board. So now the question is, how much fuel do we have here? Can we get into orbit? I believe the answer to that to be yes. Looks like 90 degrees is out over this direction. Okay, let's check on our fuel situation here. So we'll go into the resource manager. Okay, I want to have all of these tanks be out here. So it looks like we're not entirely even out here. So I want to be in, and we're going to start. So we're just draining the fuel out of these. Then I'm going to remove these tanks. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, we're having a bug there. Well, I wanted to equalize these. Unfortunately, I'm not sure we can at this point, unless we were to reload. We might be able to reload this. So I'm going to save, and then I'm going to load the save that we just made in the hopes that our resource monitor isn't broken. So we're going to load this save. And let's see what happens. It should be fine. Okay. Now, if we open up our resource manager, or rather manager, we can go in here and we can move these 4 out. And we can equalize these. Like this. That's more like what we wanted to do. So we've got a little under a third fuel left in these tanks. My question is, what is the thrust to weight of this guy? A little higher up in the atmosphere. I kind of want to grab this tank and equalize all of these. Like that. Just to toss a little more fuel into these tanks. Okay. I'm going to quick save here just in case something goes horribly wrong. It shouldn't. And we are going to attempt to lift off and go home here. We'll see how this goes. This will be interesting. So off we go. We're definitely having motion here. Okay. And our thrust to weight should go up quickly as we punch through the atmosphere. In theory. I did yoink some fuel from here, and we may put it back if we make it back into orbit in a reasonable time frame. But I do want to... Okay, noted. I want to just go to prograde. Okay, stop it, stop it, stop it. We're tumbling. This is bad. This is very bad. Okay. That is incredibly bad. Why are we tumbling this way? Okay. This is very, very bad. I want to be in up. We're working on it. We're almost there. We can recover this, I think. We're basically in retrograde at this time. Okay. That was quite bad. But I think we're okay. That was a really bad tumble. So we're just going to hold attitude here until we're in a much safer position. We're just going to push this thing straight up until we're at an apoapsis of probably about 40 kilometers is the way we're going to have to go. So we know now that we have a really bad situation aerodynamically here if we're attempting to do this in any sort of an efficient way. That's fine. We can live with that. We managed to make it back, so that's good. We did definitely lose some of our speed, though. That's less good. So we're at an apoapsis of about 12 kilometers right now, and we're losing attitude again? Why are we losing attitude right now? What is happening here? We should not have lost attitude there. There is no reason we should have lost attitude there. Why are we facing this way right now? This is incredibly bad. Why would this have happened? Why are we facing this way? That flip should not have happened. There's no reason that this flip should happen, especially considering we're apparently able to just bring it back out over this way now. Insane. Okay. That is wild. That cost us so much DV. Now we're tumbling again. What is even happening right now? I have no explanation for this. Why would we flip again? The second time made no sense. The third time made even less sense. The first time I understand. But this is not how aerodynamics work. We're just trying to go straight up here. This thing really wants to sit like... It's because of the center of mass, isn't it? I bet you it's because of the center of mass. Okay, let's just sit straight up here. We're going to burn out these side tanks soon enough. That lost us so much Delta V. It is insane how much Delta V that lost us. I'm just trying to hold attitude straight up right now. We're losing attitude again. This is insane. Every time we get any amount of speed going, we just lose attitude. Yeah, that's not how that should work, though. Even with the center of mass. Hang on. This is a weird thing to do, but I'm actually going to go back to our previous save. No, I don't want to save this. I'm going to go back to our previous save. I want to run a quick test to try to understand what exactly is happening here. So if we go back to this, and we don't have that first flip, do we have any issue whatsoever, is the question that I have here. Because we shouldn't. But it seems to be, once we reach a certain airspeed, that we have an issue. That's what it seems like. So is the issue center of gravity? I wouldn't really expect that to be the case. But let's put this in straight up and see if that's happening, or if this is a really weird physics bug. If we have the tumble here, then it's a center of gravity issue. But if we just shoot straight through, then I'm going to call that a physics bug. Because the first tumble made a lot of sense. Every repeating tumble after that, once we got to a certain amount of airspeed, did not make sense. I understand we had some horizontal speed, but that should not have caused that issue. So far, so good. Interesting. If it doesn't reproduce here, which I don't think it's going to, then I think we have to call it a bug. Wait, we're tumbling. Okay, so I still think it's a bug, but we're going to open up our... Okay, yeah, we have to let this drift. We're going to open up our resource monitor here, hydrogen, and we're going to... Really? We can't move these? You've got to be kidding me. This is definitely bugged. Okay. We can move some of them anyway. So we're going to equalize all of these. We're just going to do that. So that'll equalize our mass somewhat. And we're currently falling down. I still think that this is a bug. Because we should not lose attitude when we get a certain airspeed going straight up. That should not be a thing under any circumstances. And we're apparently not able to stop this tumble in the slightest. So back around we go. We're currently going downward, but we're trying to gimbal this over to up. We have gimbal on for all of these. And now we're able to gimbal back to up, but this is going to be very awkward, right? So let's actually try reverting this back and completely equalizing all of the tanks just to see if that's the problem. I don't think that should be the problem, because if we're just going straight up, which we did revert to after the first tumble was fair enough. After that, every single tumble that has happened here, I do not believe should have happened. So, I think we're experiencing additional bugs here with the physics system on Lathe. I'm going to move every single one of these tanks over. And we're going to fully equalize all of them. Like this. Then we're going to try this one more time. Lifting off like so. Just straight up. It's when the atmosphere starts to thin out. It doesn't actually seem to be tied to our surface speed. It seems to be tied to the atmosphere getting thinner, causing issues, which is very strange to me. I just want to double check that all of these aren't thrust limited in any way and that they all have gimbal on. And indeed they do. There is no reason that we should lose attitude here. Okay. If we lose attitude here, on this attempt, then it is 1,000% a bug. We're going purely straight up. Everything is perfectly equal in terms of fuel capacity. We are beginning to lose attitude. So this is a bug. It has to be. I think. We're able to hold the attitude for now. For now. But we can see it definitely is beginning to drift here. Yep, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, that's tumbling. So this has to be a bug. There is no reason that this should happen in this scenario. We should not tumble like that under any circumstances. We're going straight up. There was no turn whatsoever. Wild. We should not lose attitude there. That is insane. Why are we flipping around to retrograde when we start to clear into the thinner portion of the atmosphere here? It appears to be based on our atmospheric height, not based on our speed at the time. But as our speed goes down, we're able to regain control of it. But at that point, we've missed out on so much, like our coast speed is gone at that point, right? And now we have to bring this back around to here and rebuild all of that speed. Our thrust to weight is higher, to be sure. But now we're going to start losing attitude again. We can punch our way through the atmosphere eventually like this. We are beginning to tumble again, I think. We need to get this under control like this. But this has to be a bug in the physics. There is no reason why we should have started to tumble then. None at all. I'm manually compensating for it here, and for now I'm able to keep it kind of under control. I think we might be high enough up in the atmosphere now that we are not going to lose attitude. Again, to be clear, that first attitude loss, the very, very first one, I think was fair. That was, I think, all on me, but it was also recoverable. So our apoapsis is 40 kilometers right now, and I want to just bring this out this direction. Okay. So we're tumbling, that's a really rapid tumble. Right around to 270. Look at how thin the atmosphere is here. There's no reason that that should be happening. We should not be locking down here. Why are we here? There's no reason for us to be down here. We're now in orbital velocity mode. And we're at 30 kilometers apoapsis. Like, the atmosphere is really thin here. There's no reason that we should be locking to the to the retrograde here. So let's move this over to stability assist. We have really, really, really low amounts at this point of DV. We cannot actually change our attitude here. We are locked to downward facing. At least for now. This is insane. I have no explanation for the physics on Lathe. It is just completely broken. There is no reason we should be facing this way right now. There's no reason we should be stuck here right now. Okay. We're beginning to be able to get this tumble under control as our orbital velocity drops down. We're about 9 seconds from our apoapsis here, and this is the way that this has been working this whole time. So we're going to get over to here. We need to be, like, at the prograde marker right now. And I'm going to burn us about here or so. Because we need to be pushing out the apoapsis here. If we can just get back into orbit, this is acceptable. But I still think that we're having significant bugs in, like, every aspect on Lathe. It's kind of insane. We're starting to lose attitude here again, but we can see that the apoapsis is getting better. I'm going to move us over to prograde here. That's where we wanted to be kind of from the get-go. Our apoapsis is now in space, but our orbital velocity is very, very low at this point. But we are going to make it to orbit, despite those issues. That just goes to show how ridiculously overbuilt this thing is. At this point, I don't expect there to be any further issues. We're basically out of the atmosphere. If we go to sea level altitude, you can see, yeah, we're pretty much out of the atmosphere, but that was insane. There's no reason the aerodynamics should have worked that way. None whatsoever. So I'm going to take our apoapsis up to maybe like 200K just to be on the safe side. And I'm watching our fuel in these side tanks. They're going to be going away very soon. Maybe like 150. We'll call this good. So that'll be fine. Now I want to go into the resource manager. And I want to... in. Like that. So we no longer have any fuel out here, right? Actually, we do. We have 0.01. And this needs to be in. Okay, apparently not. Well, it didn't automatically set these. Okay. It might be a rounding error, or it might be, you know, more bugs. We're running into a lot of those suddenly. Okay, that should be good. Now I'm going to ditch these stages. We are out of the atmosphere. So I'm going to ditch these stages and push ourselves clear. Okay. Well, I believe we made it into orbit. That was insane. The aerodynamics absolutely should not have worked that way. There's no reason with the craft fully equalized and going completely straight up that we should have lost attitude as many times as we did. But we've got enough DV here to bring ourselves into orbit, as well as enough, I think, to bring us home. So that should be fine. I think we managed to complete this mission, although I did have to revert that a couple times. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I feel like it's justified in that case. The first time that I reverted it, I was just absolutely flummoxed that we were having the issue that we were. I was definitely not prepared for that. The first tumble is fine. I was prepared for that. More tumbles beyond that was absolutely unexpected. And the second reversion, I was just experimenting with things at that point. And then the third time, well, the third time was the charm. It shouldn't have taken three attempts there, that's for sure. But I don't know, there's some really weird things going on Lathe. No doubt about it. Lathe appears to be pretty buggy in KSP2. Let's just get ourselves into orbit, and then we can head home next episode. Once we're in orbit, things should be relatively smooth sailing from here, and I'm going to call this a completed mission. Lathe is buggy. There's nothing else to say about it. Lathe is just incredibly buggy. Remember, we can always refuel this if we need to, so I'm not too concerned about that. I will endeavor to not do any more reversions or utilizations of the cheat menu, but we'll see how necessary that it ends up being. I think we'll be okay on Elu, to be honest. I don't think we'll run into similar issues. Lathe is the only location we've run into those issues, but we're back in orbit now. It's a awkward orbit. This is not the orbit I was aiming for. I was aiming for an equatorial one, but sure, it'll do. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Andy Magar, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Tommy, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time when we are going to end this cursed mission. Ugh. We're getting very close to the end of KSP2 as well, so that'll be nice.